Kiki presents Sewing a Dart.
Hey Kiki readers, I'm Lindsay and I am so excited today to talk to you about darts. Do you know what a dart is? A dart is a sewn angled fold in most curved areas in a garment to make it more fitted to the body. And they're usually found in like non-stretch fabrics. Most, like women's blouses and skirts and things like that will have darts to make it more fit. So it's a good skill to have. Okay, let's go sew some darts.
So these are two line drawings of what darts look like in a pattern. The one on the left that is a V shape is a single pointed dart, and the one on the right is a double pointed dart. You usually would see single pointed darts in like ladies' blouses or skirts, and probably the double pointed dart in dresses that are fitted along the waistline. So I know in the marking a pattern video, we briefly went over a dart and tailor tacks, but I just wanted to refresh that this is what a dart looks like on a store-bought pattern, and those circles are how you will mark the dart on your fabric with tailor tacks. So if you need to refresh that, please visit that video, because this video is just about sewing the dart. So we're going to get started by matching the top tailor tack marks together so that the fold is on the back side of the fabric. And you want to make sure that the tops line up so that it's completely flat at the top of the fold. So I'm going to go ahead and put a pin there to mark where I just pinched my two marks together. Now, making sure that my fabric is folded evenly, I'm going to put a pin where my single tailor tack mark was at the bottom. So we have two pins, one where there was one tailor tack and one where we folded the two tailor tacks together. And then lastly, I put a pin in the middle so that I have a straight angled line from the top pin to the bottom pin. While I have it frozen, I'm just going to refresh that I matched the top two tailor tacks together on the back side of the skirt and put a pin. And then I put a pin where there was a single dot at the end. So I'm creating an angled line from the top pin to the bottom pin that you'll follow with the sewing machine. I'm going to do the sewing example on scrap fabric because I can use a darker thread that you'll be able to see better. But you can see I did the same process on the scrap fabric as I did with the blue fabric. So there's my top pin, and I'm going to sew an angle down to the bottom pin. Okay, so I'm going to start at the top and I'm going to back tack using a normal size stitch. And then I'm just going to sew over my pin at an angle so that I end at the dot at the bottom. And I'm not going to back tack, I'm going to completely sew off the bottom. So kind of like when someone's running to first base in baseball and they just run right through the base, they don't stop at the base. So I'm going to just run right through that bottom spot. And then when you cut the string, make sure you cut a long enough string because I'm actually going to tie the end here. As you can see, I'm going to tie it twice. And this is just so I have a real sharp point on my dart. Okay, so when you get your strings tied twice in a knot, and not super tight so that it like bunches the fabric a little bit, but tight enough that you feel like it's secure, then you can go ahead and trim those extra threads hanging there. And this is what it'll look like when you're done. It'll look like a triangle piece on the back and a line on the front. Now I'm going to show you on the blue fabric, but I'm using blue thread, so it's going to be a little bit harder to see. So again, I'm back tacking at the beginning, and I'm sewing an angled line from my top pin to my bottom pin, and I'm sewing right through that bottom mark, like a baseball player running right through first base. And then I'm leaving a long enough string at the end so that I can tie them in a knot. So I took my pins out, And I'm just going to go ahead and tie that twice. Snugly, but not too tight. Okay, 1, 2. So after you snip your threads, this is what it should look like on the back. It'll look like 2 triangles on the back. And on the front, it'll look like 2 sewn lines. Okay, so here's just a close-up of the angled stitch line on the blue fabric. And you can see the 3 pins and how the stitch line is wider at the top and then it gets really skinny at the bottom. And then here's an image of what a dart looks like on the inside of the fabric. So it looks like a sewn fold of fabric. And you actually want to press that outward after you sew it so that it'll lay flat against your body when you wear it. And this is on the inside of a skirt. Okay, and this is what the darts look like on the outside of the skirt. So it looks like 2 lines, and it's what makes the skirt more tapered at the top, is the fit from the angle of the darts. And those darts are on the front and the back. Okay, so I'm just going to show you really fast how to sew a double pointed dart. We don't have a project right now where you need to sew a double pointed dart, but just in case you want to know what it looks like, I'm just going to do it on a piece of scrap fabric. So the double pointed dart is the one on the right in this image. So can you see here that I have marked the fabric once at the top and the bottom and then 2 dots on each side, so it looks like a diamond. So for this I just marked it with a pencil because it's scrap fabric. If this was your actual fabric, those would be tailor tacks. So just like the other dart, I'm going to match the 2 wide points together. Whereas in the other dart it was at the top and this is going to be in the middle. So the first thing to do is to match the 2 wide points together and put a pin. And then just like you did with the other dart, you're going to put a pin where the single dots are on each side. So the only difference is instead of it being on just one point at the bottom, there's going to be a point at the top and the bottom. So you're marking off the diamond folded with pins. So as you can see, it's kind of hard to get it lined up perfectly. You want this to be straight, or you wouldn't have a straight line in your garment. So I'm making sure that my 2 dots at the ends are lining up and that my dots in the middle are folded over so that they match up perfectly. So you should have a straight line or close to it when you're done. So just like any other part of sewing, it's important to take your time to do it right, because when you kind of walk over steps in the beginning and rush them, then things don't come together right later. So if the fit changes in the beginning, then it's, going to be all wrong towards the end. So just go ahead and take the time to make sure your dart is straight. So now that I have my marks pinned off, I'm going to go ahead and pin in between like I did with my single point dart. So remember, I want these to be at an angle, so I'm pinning in between the wide parts that I pinned to the single marks that I pinned. So you should have 5 pins total. So this is going to be a little bit different. Instead of starting at the wide point and back tacking, I'm going to start at one of the dart points. So I'm not going to back tack, and I'm going to leave a lot of string at the beginning so that I can tie it off later. So you're going to use a regular size stitch and leave a lot of string and just start sewing at an angle. So you're going to, instead of going inward, you're actually going to go outward towards the widest point. And when I reach that point, I'm going to stop and put my needle down into the fabric, and then I'm going to lift the foot and I'm going to pivot it, just like when we turned a corner in that video. Okay, so here I'm lifting the foot and pivoting. And now I'm going to line my foot back down and I'm going to go towards the other point. So now I'm going back in. And then again, leave enough string to tie off. And you're going to sew through that end dart point like someone that's running to first base in baseball and they just run right through the base. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and tie a knot twice at both ends of my double pointed dart. Okay, so this might take a second, but just make sure that you tie 2 knots on each side of the dart points, and don't tie them too tight that it's snug and pulls the fabric, but you also don't want to make it too loose. Okay, so this is what it would look like. It looks like half a diamond. And I usually wait until, like, I will try on, have a fitting with my garment first, but once I know that it fits right, I actually trim into the double pointed dart so that it lays better. So I cut a snip at the corner, but I always make sure that it fits before I do that. In the middle point, I cut a snip into the middle point of the double-sided dart. Just like that. And you could actually, yeah, you could cut some more just to kind of make it lay better. But once you do that step, you can't undo it, so. And that's what that would look like. But it looks a little confusing outside of a garment, but that would be at your waistline in a dress. And it would just make it more fitted around the middle. If you get a chance, take pictures of the things that you make and send it to submissions@kikimag.com. We love checking out your cool creations. Remember to check back at kikimag.com often for cool opportunities and fun inspirations that we have up for you. Good luck on your project and have a great day.
The end.